I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are continuing in the Gospels. We've been reading about the ministry of John the Baptist, his preaching, and his prophesying of Christ. He is the one, the messenger sent to prepare the way. Now we read that in all four Gospels. Note that this story of John the Baptist and the baptism of Christ is one of the few that is in all four Gospels. That tells us that it is a very important thing, that this is an important event. Now, we are going to continue. We are going to now turn back to John chapter 1. Last time we read in John, we read the first 18 verses of chapter 1. Now we are going to read verses 19 through 28. And this is the record of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who art thou?" And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, "I am not the Christ." And they asked him, "What then? Art thou Elias?" And he saith, "I am not." "Art thou that prophet?" And he answered, "No." Then said they unto him, "Who art thou? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. What sayest thou of thyself?" And he said, "I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, Make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaias." And they which were sent were of the Pharisees. And they asked him, and said unto him, "Why baptizest thou then, if thou be not that Christ, nor Elias, neither that prophet?" John answered them, saying, "I baptize with water, but there standeth one among you, whom ye know not. He it is who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoes latchet I am not worthy to unloose." These things were done in Bethabara beyond Jordan, where John was baptizing. They ask him if he's Elias, and he says no. "Are you that prophet?" He says no. But his father prophesied that he would have the spirit of Elias. He is Elias. But in this case, what they're actually asking is they're asking if he is Elijah. Because remember, Malachi prophesied that Elijah would return. And that's what they're asking. They're coming, "Are you Christ?" "No." "Are you Elijah?" "No." It's a little confusing there on who's the other prophet that they're asking about. And so they ask, "Well then, who are you?" And his response is to quote Isaiah, which all the other gospel authors have also made reference to. This is John saying, "This is who I am. I am come to fulfill this prophecy." But Christ is coming. He's saying here, Christ is already here. He just hasn't revealed himself yet. You don't know who he is yet. But he's walking among you right now. Now, this passage is a little confusing, as I said, because it talks about Elias and Elijah. It makes reference to Elijah using the Greek Elias, which we also use as a title for a forerunner or messenger or preparer, which John the Baptist was. But then who's the other prophet that it's talking about? And we're not quite sure about that. Or at least I'm not at this time. So we're going to leave this video here, and in the next one we will look at the Joseph Smith translation for this section and see if it shines any light on the subject. So I will see you there. So we've been reading the ministry of John the Baptist, how he taught the people, he baptized them, he has baptized Christ. And we just read in John chapter 1 about the Pharisees sending people to kind of interrogate John and find out who he is. And now we're going to read the Joseph Smith translation of that portion. This is verses 19 through 28. Now, most of these verses do have a Joseph Smith translation. Not all of them do, so we're going to pick this up. So we're going to pick this up in verse 20. We're going to read 20 through 22, and then we'll read the Joseph Smith translation. And I do apologize, my neighbors are being very loud again. I'll try to cut it out, but the King James states, "And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not the Christ. And they asked him, What then? Art thou Elias? And he saith, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he answered, No. Then said they unto him, Who art thou? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. What sayest thou of thyself?" Now this is the Joseph Smith translation. "And he confessed and denied not that he was Elias, but confessed, saying, I am not the Christ. And they asked him, saying, How then art thou Elias? And he said, I am not that Elias who was to restore all things. And they asked him, saying, Art thou that prophet? And he answered, No. Then said they unto him, Who art thou, that we may give an answer to them who sent us? What sayest thou of thyself? Notice here, there are actually two Elias. There's the forerunner, which is John the Baptist, the preparer. There is also the restorer, the one who comes to restore all things. So John the Baptist is the Elias that comes to prepare. Christ is the Elias that comes to restore. In the last days, Joseph Smith is the preparer. He came to prepare the world for the second coming, and when Christ comes the second time, he again is the Elias come to restore all things. That's very interesting that we have these two different Eliases here. Now let us go down to 24, just changes the word which to who, minor grammatical update, but 25 has this. And they asked him and said unto him, Why baptizest thou, if thou be not that Christ, nor Elias, neither that prophet? The Joseph Smith translation has, And they asked him and said unto him, Why baptizest thou then, if thou be not the Christ, nor Elias, who was to restore all things, neither that prophet? This tells us who that prophet was. See, the Pharisees are in this, from what this is saying in the Joseph Smith translation, the Pharisees are confusing Elias, Christ, and the prophet that Moses said would come. Back in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses says, God will raise up another prophet like unto me, and listen to him. That's what they're saying here. Are you Christ? No. Are you the Elias who will restore all things? No, I'm the Elias to prepare things. Well, are you that prophet that Moses said would come? No. Because all three of those, Christ, that prophet, and the Elias who would restore all things, all of those are references to Christ, but apparently the Pharisees thought they were references to three different people. That's an interesting thing. But let us read here verse 27 in the King James. He it is who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoes latchet I am not worthy to unloose. Joseph Smith gives us a much longer passage here. He it is of whom I bear record. He is that prophet, even Elias, who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoes latchet I am not worthy to unloose, or whose place I am not able to fill. For he shall baptize, not only with water, but with fire and with the Holy Ghost. So this becomes the same message that we read in all the other Gospels. John taught the same message. He's prophesying the coming of Christ. But notice this. It says, why are you baptizing? What are you doing here? If you're not one of those three men, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm the one sent to prepare the way for that guy. All those three things, those are the same guys. Christ, the Elias who will restore, and the prophet, those are all the same person. I am the one sent to prepare the way for him. He is really explaining the scriptures to the Pharisees here. He's really laying it out for them. Now, on the final note, verse 28, where it says, These things were done in Bethabara beyond Jordan, where John was baptizing. That verse is still in the Joseph Smith translation, but it is no longer verse 28. It has been moved down to verse 34. So we will read that again when we do the Joseph Smith translation of that portion of John. Right now we are going to end that here, and I will see you in the next video.